What if you could hack your brain for more curiosity, deeper focus, and that creativity? Meet Anne-Laure Le Cunff, a neuroscientist turned entrepreneur who left Google to start Nest Labs, where she teaches you about cutting-edge brain science with tiny experiments with massive results. Oh, and she's doing a PhD over at King's College London, wrote a book called Tiny Experiments, and advises top mental health organizations around the world. And today we're going to break down her routines, her apps, and how she uses AI in her daily routine. Okay, Anne-Laure, can you paint a picture of what a typical day looks like for you? From start to finish, it would be amazing to see how you start it and how you finish it.
Yeah. So when I wake up, the very first thing I do is make myself a little cup of coffee, and then I journal for 5 to 10 minutes. And this allows me to connect with myself before I look at any screens, because the kind of work I do, I know I'm going to spend the rest of the day in front of my computer. So this is a moment to connect with myself. I then shower, get dressed, and I usually go to the lab. I'm a neuroscientist, so I go and work there. I work with my participants. I have some lab meetings, and I usually come back home mid-afternoon, which is when I have my other meetings that are more around Nest Labs, my online creator work, writing, any kind of essays and reading that I do. In the evening, to wind down, depending on how I feel, if I feel pretty good and I'm making good decisions, I will read a book before going to bed. But sometimes I end up watching TV, which is fine too. And I try to go to bed pretty early because I know when I have an early start, I end up usually having a more productive day.
So it's quite clear to see that Anne-Laure really tries to pay attention to her intentional focus as she starts a day. And of course, her deep work is a very big, important part of that.
I try to have 1 hour without talking to anyone when I arrive at the lab in the morning. So I go, I sit at my desk, and this is when I have a look at my tasks in Rome. I use Rome, so I look at what I'm supposed to do without looking at my emails first, because I know your emails can become a to-do list. So I try to avoid doing that. And so if I have any kind of reading or research or writing to do, I do that first. The other advantage of doing that is that even if the rest of the day is completely chaotic and it's a bunch of meetings and I feel like I don't have a lot of control as to how I spend my time, I know I have at least spent that hour first thing in the morning when arriving in the lab, where I have done some creative work that feels good. And it's okay if I don't find any more time to do any kind of creative thinking throughout the rest of the day.
So Anne-Laure, I'm thinking about what apps you use, and I'm always curious about what you go with. We talked very briefly when we did filming in London, but what apps do you use every single day to help get things done and get into that deep work state?
I use Rome for my note-taking. This is where I have all of my to-do list, but I also do all of my thinking. I save links to papers in there, quick capture notes, and I would say I do a good 50 to 60% of my thinking inside of Rome. I use Google Keep for quick note-taking on my phone. This is one of the problems with my other note-taking app. It's that it's really good on the computer, but on the phone it can be a little bit slow. And so Google Keep for me is a way to really be able to open it very quickly wherever I am and take those notes there and then maybe transfer them in another place later on if I need to. Another thing I love about Google Keep is that I can draw in it. And so I am a visual thinker. And so sometimes I can draw a quick diagram there if I have an idea. I use Google Calendar for all of my scheduling and just keeping track of time in general. It's connected to everything else. I used to work at Google, so I'm very deep in the Google ecosystem when it comes to apps. I use Google Fit to track my steps. I know it has a lot of other functionalities, but mainly that's the way I use it. With the kind of work I do, it's very easy to be 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. at home without leaving the house. And so I try to hit at least 5,000 steps a day. If I get more, that's great. But this is really a reminder to go, and if I'm tempted to order food, I will actually go and walk and go to the grocery store and just get my steps in. So that's how I use Google Fit.
If you're enjoying this snack with Anne-Laure, then you can find loads more in the description below. Do check that out after this video.
I use my MyFitnessPal to scan barcodes of food in the supermarket. I'm not obsessed with it, but I try to eat pretty healthy. And sometimes you can look at a list of ingredients and you have no idea what's going on. So by scanning it with my MyFitnessPal, I have an idea of what nutrients are in there and whether this would be more of a nice little cheat kind of food or whether this is something very healthy I can eat as much as I want to. I use VN Video Editor on my phone to edit videos. I've been using it for years. It's really, really good. It's simple. It doesn't have too many functionalities, and you can just upload different clips that you took with your camera and then edit them, add text, add music, export it in different formats, and then you can upload it to any platform. I use Spacetime, so I enter my location in it, and whenever I go to any new city, I can open it and I can see who in my Twitter friends are in the city at that moment. And I can message them and ask if they want to hang out and grab coffee. I use the Google Recorder to capture quick voice notes, mostly when I'm walking on the street and I'm thinking about something that I want to work on later. So I'll do that. What I love about it is that it's going to automatically transcribe what I said also, so I can just copy paste this either in my notes or in an AI afterwards and extract the key insights. I wrote a book called Tiny Experiments, which is all about how to live a more experimental life. It's a book for people who are both highly ambitious and highly curious. And it contains a bunch of tools you can use if you want to leverage that curiosity to explore what you want in life, how to be more productive without sacrificing your mental health, and how to have a positive impact, even if you're not quite sure what your career should look like.
Okay, my final question really is around AI, because it's such a fundamental part of people's lives and it's gotten quite deep rooted in terms of how we focus. But how do you use AI in everyday routine? What's your workflow? Can you explain that a little bit more?
I use AI all the time, and I used to be someone who would fall into Wikipedia rabbit holes all the time. I would have cereals, read the back of the box, and then read about the company that started that cereal business on Wikipedia while eating my cereal. I'm that kind of person. Now I do the same thing, but using Claude or ChatGPT. So whenever I have a random question, I will go and ask it. So I use it in this way just to have conversations with someone who will never tire to answer anything when it comes to personal questions or work questions throughout the day. I also sometimes use it in more targeted ways, in the sense that I have a lot of processes at Nest Labs or in the lab where I need to have a very clear document that explains how a process works to another person. That used to take hours to just figure out what is the right language, how can I describe the step-by-step process that I've been doing for a while, but that is clear to only me. Now what I do is that I use an app called Whisperflow where I just ramble. So it's a voice dictation AI-driven app. I just ramble for 5 minutes explaining this is how I do this thing. It will then not only fix the rambling, but present it in a way that already is a good 60% there. And then I will take that and put it in either Claude or ChatGPT and tell it who's the audience. So I'll say it might be my executive assistant, or it might be a social media manager, or it might be a junior researcher at the lab. Please turn this into an SOP that I can share with them. So that's another example. I really see AI at this stage as a colleague that is sitting next to me the entire day and who I can talk to and say, hey, can you help me with this thing?
That's really interesting. Do you use it as well as sort of like a operating officer for the business, where you ask these big business strategy questions and then like unpack them like new ideas? Do you do that, or is that just me?
At this stage, I haven't really used it for big picture thinking, because I have found that making space to hang out with other entrepreneurs has been more helpful for me. I find that with big picture thinking, very often AI is at a stage where it only allows me to make my current thinking better. But if I need to think completely out of the box and start imagining completely different ways of doing things, most of these aha breakthrough moments have come from conversations with other entrepreneurs who have been approaching in a completely different way. So it might get to a point where I'll be able to have those big thinking conversations with AI, but right now I'm having those with humans.
So I think Anne-Laure's system is absolutely fascinating. As somebody that's deeply involved in science and of deep work, ADHD and neurodiversity, it's really important to see how she uses it in her daily life, but also how she perceives it as well. So I thought this stack was particularly interesting from that perspective. If you want to dive into more stacks, you can check out the 3 other stacks we've done so far here on this channel, and you can also dive into stacks of other people, choose their apps, find their routines, and dig deeper. But if you're new to the channel, I would love to have you as a subscriber, so do check us out. Join us below and share your thoughts on this interview in the comments area below. Thanks so much for stopping by, and I'll see you very soon.